Hi, everybody. Welcome to our sixth and final Startup Spotlight Demo Day. Welcome. My name is Katja Wald. I'm the Executive Director of the MIT Enterprise Forum Cambridge. We have four new great presentations for you. Each one will get 8 minutes, followed by 5 minutes of Q&A. Make sure to vote for your favorites. Before we get started, I do want to announce last week's popular vote winner. They are Bloxo. They are a new app that simplifies the process of organizing and participating in physical activities in person and soon virtually. Congratulations to them. They're located in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and we were thrilled to have them. Before we get started, I just want to let you know we run primarily on membership and sponsorships. So if you are interested in joining as an individual member and supporting our work or learning more about annual sponsorship, please reach out to us. And on that note, I do want to introduce and thank this week's Demo Day sponsor, which is Wolf Greenfield. Wolf Greenfield has been a partner of ours for almost as long as I can remember. They have been invaluable to us. We really appreciate their support, their absolute direct involvement in what we do. And they're just a fun group to be around, so we really appreciate working with them. And with that, I'd like to introduce John Harmon to say a few words about Wolf.
Hi, my name is John Harmon. I'm a senior associate at Wolf Greenfield. I'm very happy to be participating in this event today. I know that the Enterprise Forum has had a long-term goal of extending their programs to a global outreach as well as expanding their online events. And given what they've come up with over the last few weeks, it's been an absolutely amazing pivot that they've made here to providing great content here for everyone online. So Wolf Greenfield has been a long-term supporter of the Enterprise Forum for a number of years, and I have personally been involved in and attending events for several years myself, and I've served on the Clean Tech Committee for the Enterprise Forum for about the last year. So Wolf Greenfield is the largest IP-only law firm in Boston, and we provide services related to patents, trademarks, copyrights, associated litigations, and this is in pretty much every technological field you can think of, including consumer products, mechanical systems, chemistry, materials, electrical and computer technologies, as well as pharmaceuticals. So what I love about the Enterprise Forum is that it's a great community. It brings people together from diverse sets of ideas and diverse technologies and backgrounds, and you just get a wonderful mixing of ideas and technology coming out of this group. So hopefully everyone here continues to participate both online and when they eventually go back into live events in the future. And with that, I will turn it over to the startups.
Awesome. Hopefully people can see this.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, everyone. It's a real pleasure to have this opportunity. InvenTrust is a company about 2 years old based in the Boston area, and I'm CEO and founder. We are an AI and blockchain based platform in exchange to create, buy, validate, and license critical know-how and essential products. So especially in this era, it should be, everyone in this entire forum should be very familiar with the problem we are solving. And that is that, especially today, which is of course the pandemic, there is massive shortfall in the supply of critical know-how and essential products. And these are obviously, whether these are masks or ventilator parts or data sets, in not only short supply, but it's also a huge issue to know which ones are truly trustworthy. And so whether it's hospitals or in fact other companies who are looking to leverage these, it's difficult for them to know which ones to use. And similarly, on the other side, you have makers who are making these, who have a difficult time, especially if they're not necessarily from discovered companies, to transact this know-how or these digital goods with speed and confidence. So InvenTrust is a blockchain AI-based platform that was tailor-made to solve this sort of issues and to organize what is inherently today a very disorganized set of influences. So we start with registering assets from makers, then go through a peer review based validation process where other makers can help validate assets, much like peer review works in many other well-known forums. And then through an AI-based matching process and on to a smart contract, which really allows people to be able to license the know-how or an asset in a very streamlined way, and then through community-based governance and dispute resolution mechanisms. We are live, and this is our website on InvenTrust.com, which is a public beta that we are currently rolling out. You can see many different types of assets that are currently listed here, from various types of data sets to face masks and of course, mechanisms for different types of parts. This also provides a quick glance at the types of validation mechanisms that are available. And you can come in to not simply monetize your asset, i.e. get monetary compensation for it, but also share it or just to share it. And many people are, of course, putting things up for free, but with a view to promoting services or talent that they might have for, with buyers. Another leverage case for the platform and technology we built is, of course, in the enterprise setting, which is to monetize digital goods. So what I just shared with you was a public infrastructure. In a very similar way, you could also leverage the same technology set to, for example, monetize design from the cloud towards production networks that are increasingly going to be leveraging that design. So there could be a car company that wants to make sure that parts that are sourced from its designs, in fact, remain completely, the protections, the IP protections, the trade secret issues are typed and managed end-to-end through the entire process. We have a growing ecosystem. These are some of the adopters and companies that we are engaging with, including many, quote, circular economy type of organizations who recognize the value that our approach brings to, of course, industrial leaders and various blockchain partners as well. And then in terms of the market landscape, within the US alone, there's over 100 million makers. And they are today a fairly disorganized, fragmented type of hubs that serve them. And with this approach, we are actually leveraging that distributed nature of the maker base in ways that the other companies that are doing this are not able to. And frankly, even if a tiny percentage of this global pool were to start transacting some of their assets, a few $1,000s every year through our platform, it represents an enormous addressable market. And clearly there are venture capital and other strategic investors who are recognizing the value here that can be built. And of course, the company itself, we have a stellar team. Most of us are serial innovators, have had large exits in the past, and have the kind of chops to really build and scale this sort of network and platform. So with that, thank you very much. I'm delighted to have had this opportunity to share our journey with the Enterprise Forum. By the way, we have been part of the accelerator program with the Enterprise Forum too, and that's been a truly rewarding experience. And thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Raj. So I'm going to ask you, I'll kick it off while we get questions. But let me ask you, why blockchain for this?
Absolutely. So the blockchain is, as everyone knows, a ledger, and it provides a transparent and immutable mechanism to record an asset. So if you have a design which maybe, let's say, a ventilator valve, and you want to be able to license it, but on a constrained period of time, not free, not forever, not in all geographies, then the blockchain allows you to regulate who touches it, and know who touches it, and know when it's been accessed. And all of that is ledgered and is part of the process of transmitting that asset.
Okay, great. And what's your business model?
Thank you. Yeah, so, as you might expect, the business model is a combination of transaction fees. So we basically make a click charge on assets that get transacted. And also the validators have, powerful set of financial incentives too. And so, we have a tiny piece of that economy as well that we are helping develop and facilitate. And then last but not least, we also have for certain enterprise clients sort of subscription and concierge fees to build specific private settings for them.
Okay. And what about competitors in this space?
So again, in one of the slides I shared with you, there are numerous companies who have been building hubs around, for example, auto parts or aviation parts and so on and so forth. And soon I'm PPE, personal protective equipment. The combination that we offer is not really been cracked by any of the competitors. So, the capabilities in terms of reach and affordability that we're able to bring through this distributed ecosystem of validation, as well as, of course, bringing this to small makers all over the world, really no one has yet been able to crack. And that's the differentiators we bring.
Okay. I have a question here on whether this is local or global.
So just what I was saying, it is global by design, but clearly we are thrilled to have local makers and participants from local communities too. We are in fact invested in that ourselves because we are makers ourselves and would love to have people from the Boston area and other regions nearby also, of course, join.
Great. There's a question here about your projected top line and bottom line.
No.
Sorry.
What's your projected top line and bottom line?
The top line projections are to grow to, frankly, tens of millions of dollars in terms of revenue. And the bottom line, we should be able to do that at margins in excess of 50%.
Okay, great. I'm just going to do a quick ask folks to mute themselves if they're not muted. I'm trying to do that while I'm asking questions. Can't multitask that well. So there's a question here about what keeps innovators and acquirers who find each other in the marketplace from creating their own smart contracts outside of the platform.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's a great question. That could happen in any public marketplace. But the best ones, and we intend to be a category leading market, create powerful incentives for people to obviously want to contribute because there's reputational scores, trust scores, there's value associated with particular validators. And also, frankly, there's benefits such as, on the flip side, infringement detection and so on. So if you sign up with a maker and you find that they are providing you with parts or know-how which is infringed from somewhere else, how do you know whether that's the case? Within our ecosystem, there's in fact governance techniques and incentive mechanisms we are building in for the community to be able to, in a sense, self-regulate, and that's truly going to be a powerful differentiator for us.
Great, we're up with time, Katya. So thank you,
all
Raj.
right. Thank you, Raj.
Thank you.
And we're on to the next presenter, who is Nadia from Pakira. So Nadia, you can share your screen. Nadia, we can't hear you if you're talking.
Okay, is this the correct
There you
view?
go. Perfect.
And you have the correct view, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, everybody. So, Pakira, the root problem that we are solving with Pakira is physical commodities. It's our livelihood. It's what we eat, what we live in, what we wear, like cotton and corn and steel, that comprise 1/4 of all trade worldwide, $20 trillion. And yet today, in 2020, the trading of all these physical commodities throughout their entire B2B supply chain are done primarily over the phone. So Pakira is building a $20 trillion online marketplace to bring this community online. And this happens to be one of the last frontiers that has not yet yielded to electronic trading. It's really the last holdout. We have financial securities that are all online, physical goods, whether B2B or B2C, are online, but not the physical commodities. So why is that? Why has it lasted for so long? Well, it's a very messy and fragmented market. The deals are enormous. Hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. The negotiation terms are complex. It sometimes takes 6 months for a deal to happen and the seller to get payment. Transportation is a significant cost and is susceptible to fraud. Therefore, I really want to know who is this Katya or this Amy on the other side of the phone. And so this dynamic creates 2 levels of problems. On the operational level, we have this pain of no real-time price info, right? You can't just Google the Apple stock price today. There's no buyer-supplier info except for the people in your network. It's a very cumbersome order process. There's a disconnect between the sales and the back office. Well, how can there be a connection, right? The sale is done over the phone. You can't track orders, which makes it problematic for sourcing, illegal logging, illegal mining, all kinds of shenanigans and farming. And then on a macro level, it's a very inefficient market. The volatility of physical commodities is 3x the volatility of any other financial security or asset class. For example, with COVID, when stocks fell 15%, the stocks of the lumber companies fell 45 to 50%. This is how bad it was. There's no real-time forecasting, which results in bankruptcies and job loss. And so this makes supply chains very rigid and brittle, causing massive waste and even in crises like the pandemic, human lives. So Pakira is after, with our online trading platform, we're after data. Once we are able to generate data with the online trading from the supply chain, then we can process it. We're a fintech AI company that can apply the AI models and with also outside indicators, and then model that and then give it back to the supply chain in the form of insights and predictions and really closing the loop on a lot of these operational and macro problems. So this ability to have data and our ability with our IP to process it and give it back to the supply chain enables the supply chains to become smart, dynamic, and reconfigurable in real time. Our vision for the product is really an all-in-one community portal for the commodity industry. So it's kind of like a Bloomberg terminal for traders that is all-in-one. And in order to accomplish this vision, we will have to partner with banks for the escrow, right? People don't just pay credit cards like $1 million deals, with digital freight companies for transportation, with insurtech companies for reputation insurance that we can implement, as well as content publishers for industry news. So on a schematic level, our platform would look something like this, that this is Pakira's platform, and these are the types of companies that we are serving, from the producers, or the farmers, or the miners, or the loggers, and the processors, manufacturers, traders we're also cater to, distributors, dealers, and at the very end of the chain, retail. So Pakira is offering all of these intrinsic services to that community, as well as the partner services through our partnerships. And this model ensures stickiness. Okay, so this is all very grand, but how are we starting? Well, our beachhead market is lumber in North America. It's a 1% sliver of that 20 trillion, a large $200 billion market, but extremely fragmented. It's 100,000 buyers and sellers. And the more fragmented the market is, the more value we can bring by bringing this community together. So we would always, for any commodity, start with North America and then expand internationally, mostly virally through our partners and the untapped import-export potential. So this is an example, schematic of the wood supply chain. And you may notice it's a little bit more complex than you would have guessed. And that is true. There's everybody buys and sells. If they get stuck between a sawmill and how to sell it to a manufacturer, or distributor, they call a trader with wholesale capabilities. The products are fragmented. There's lots of species and grades and so on. We're very customer driven. Everything's about data and customers in the Pakira process. So we've had very close engagement with a ton of data from 230 companies. Again, more than 70% buy and sell across all the categories in our supply chain. And their primary pain point is finding new customers or vendors, more than 90%. And then a number of other things. And luckily for us, about 25% of them stepped in and volunteered to be early adopters. To
You
help.
have 1 minute.
Thank you, Amy, to help Pakira get to market and scale. And here they are, again, across the same categories and across North America. I want to make sure that I acknowledge our awesome team. So I am serial technology entrepreneur with Exits. My co-founder, Andrew Gibson, is a star commodity trader that has worked in a multi-billion-dollar trading company. Bill brings a ton of experience in trading systems and managed multi-billion-dollar portfolios. Prasen is our MIT data scientist, and we have Derek, Aaron, Evan, Lucy, and Clem, amazing, enthusiastic, young, but very talented software engineers, and we're blessed with these wonderful advisors. So this just shows a piece of the product. We're doing an industry forum, and
Time.
Thank you. Okay.
Q&A. Do you want to put up your last slide?
Yeah, I'm gonna do the first one, and yeah, welcome questions. Thank you for listening.
So I had a comment. I'd like to see the map. If you can sort of switch to the map.
The map?
Yeah, the map you have with your customers. There you go. So again, folks, questions are welcome. I will start with a question in terms of the development of the actual platform. How far along are you, and what else do you need to do?
Yes, great. So thank you, Katja. That's an awesome question. So we are very early stage. We're working on our alpha with those 55 plus customers that have volunteered to be our early adopters and design partners to iterate with. We're part of the DCU FinTech Innovation Center, and we're pre-money, so a lot of the support has come through services and so on. But that's basically the answer. And then in terms of products, like, so I showed you the forum where we have a product profile for every customer that's up. We have a locations profile for their companies and so on. So we have specific, we have a very deliberate go-to-market strategy with first delivering key functionality so the customers get used to that because of the demographic, and then we'll be rolling out more features. So we're not going to sit there and wait until we have completed our Pacira Bloomberg terminal. Hopefully this addresses your question, Katja.
Yep. I have a question here about what the beachhead value proposition is. So, you know, why do these folks in the wood and lumber really need this?
Oh, why would they want to be online?
Yeah.
So maybe a good reference point would be to go back to the customer feedback that we got. How so let me just try to do this. Yeah, so maybe we could talk about how they said that more than 90% of people are craving to find new customers and vendors, and how are you going to do this over the phone? And they're lacking inventory management and just tracking price. That, like, when I call you up, you have no idea what the market price is because you don't see it online. It's not crowdsourced. And we have also asked specifically the question as to whether they would have concerns using technology, and 90% said no, 3% said yes, and 7% had some comments that I'm not going to read, but you're welcome to scan.
Great. So I think this is kind of along those lines, but you know, 90% did say they would use it, but do you think they have the digital IQ for that, for the adoption of that? That's the question that was posed.
Yeah.
Do they have access and, you know, the infrastructure to adopt this kind of product?
Yeah, this is a great question, and that is why we are being so mindful about our product rollout and go-to-market strategy. So rather than dumping this Bloomberg terminal, we're very mindful of anything that we release has to work on the phone, and it has to be primary, very simple functionality, like, okay, here's the directory, there's a forum, there's a chat. It's not even related to trading yet. And once they get comfortable with that, and the user base grows, then we start introducing other features, again, very, very gradually, with a lot of support and training available. And that's why we haven't released, because it's not a technology audience that we're addressing, and therefore we have to be prepared with that support. But great question, right on the mark.
Okay, we're out of time, but thank you, Nadia.
There were two more questions from Jim Geisman and Per Heistad. I think so. You guys make sure you ask that on the Slack channel.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Adam from Silent Coins. You can share your screen.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Oh, perfect. So hi, we are Silentians, and our mission is to bring back silence to our everyday life by introducing a novel acoustic technology. As existing acoustic solutions don't allow to reduce noise to a level comfortable for users, in Silentians we develop innovative technology that provides product with exceptional acoustic parameters. So now probably you wonder, what exactly is Silentians? It's not a sound-absorbing material. It's a specially designed periodic structure that allows you to control the way the wave propagates in the material. And as a result, it achieves up to 40 decibel of noise and vibration reduction in the designed frequency band. This, in turn, provides a list of competitive advantages. Our solution is light and thin. It's effective for low frequencies. It doesn't isolate heat, and it even allows air permeability. And last but not least, when I remind you that our product is a geometric structure, not the material itself, it becomes clear that it can be applied on a wide range of material. And this can be nearly whatever. It can be transparent, non-flammable, it can be steel or even wood. And this opens completely new possibilities for our product where alternative solutions have hard time to be applied. Our deal is very simple. We offer noise reducing panels for constructions, industrial machines, and domestic appliances. The price ranges from 15 to 100 euros per square meter. And in this way, we solve on one hand the problem of excessive noise emitted that affects efficiency and the satisfaction of users. On the other hand, we allow facilities and industrial machines to meet more and more strict noise regulations. And all of this at the price lower than alternative solutions, at the same time providing better performance guarantee in the designed frequency band. The potential market for our product is very broad. So whenever there is traffic, whenever there is heavy industry, whenever there is noise or vibrations, we have the market. But the beachhead market we decided to focus on are industrial machines. The size of this market is estimated to be roughly 1 million square meters in Switzerland only. In the next step, we would like to enter the market of household goods and construction materials with the market size of around 15 million square meters. After summing up all those numbers and scaling to the level of Europe, it turns out that there is a need for more than 2 billion square meters of such material every year. Market needs directly translate to customer acquisition. Silencions has already attracted industrial partners from all over the world, and a lot of this has happened recently. This includes a proof of concept agreement with IKEA Industry and more than 2 million equity-free European Union grant. Our technology has been appreciated in a number of startup competitions. This includes a double winner of MIT Enterprise Forum Poland, the winner of Climate Launchpad, and the silver winner of the Mass Challenge Switzerland 2019. By the end of 2020, we plan to finalize the IP protection process and enter the market with the first product. To accomplish this phase, we need a roughly additional $1 million. In the next years, we plan to further expand IP and product portfolio and enter new markets. Our business model relies on direct customer acquisition and B2B model with two main revenue streams, licensing and outsourcing. We expect to achieve break-even point in 2.5 years with more than 2 million euros net margin half a year later. The product I presented to you wouldn't have been created without the knowledge, passion, and dream that led the founders of Silencions up to this point. The core of the Silencions team consists of me, a project leader, Paweł Modrzynski, responsible for business development, and Alexander Kras and Lukasz Kuban on the technical side. Our team is supported with experienced advisory board, specialized in business, law, and consulting. With 2 offices in Zurich and Wrocław, every day we work very hard to change the world to a better place, more silent and more pleasant just for you. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. So I have a question here about the material. Can you describe the material?
Yeah, sure. So you see, usually the acoustic properties. So imagine you want to isolate yourself from the neighbor. Then you buy some kind of acoustic material, and usually the acoustic properties, they come from the material itself. Here is different. So the acoustic properties come from the structure that we can implement on the material. And this opens completely new possibilities. So I don't know, you can implement it on windows, it can be transparent, it can be implemented on steel. You would like to maybe deaden the sound and exhaust systems working with extremely high temperatures. So all of these applications are possible just because we are independent of the material. It can be even wood. So, the possibilities are nearly infinite. The only thing we need is that the material is kind of stable in terms of physical properties. But probably most of the materials you are thinking of could be used to implement the structure on and gain these acoustic properties.
Great. There's a question about if you have prototypes.
Oh yeah, I mean, so like we already did some proof of concept. We did a proof of concept with IKEA, with the biggest silver mining company in the world, where we applied this solution deep in the underground with extremely difficult conditions in terms of like temperature and so on. So we are ready to introduce the product to the market. The thing is that the prototype is one thing, but we spent quite a lot of time to make it friendly for the mass production. And this is roughly what we did in the last 2 years. Now, not only the prototype, but also the prototype that can be mass produced is ready to enter the market.
Great. There's a question about the frequency range of the solution.
That's a very good question, actually. So you see, maybe to understand what's going on with the solution is that imagine you are building a house and you would like to buy windows that protect you from the sound, but actually no one is asking you what kind of sound you would like to protect from. But I mean, this makes a huge difference. So think of the following: the more data we have, we leverage the data we have to focus on specific frequencies to increase the efficiency. I mean, of course, we can adjust this frequency band. And when you ask us to be efficient for any frequency, we are just as efficient as a regular material, but only if you have additional information, as it happens in most of the industrial applications, we are getting more and more efficient because it's just designed to attack this particular problem.
Okay, I'm going to ask my own question in here. So you have a lot of information on the EU. Do you have plans or designs in the future to launch in the United States? And where is that on your timeline?
Yeah, I mean, so like, that's a very good question. So keep the fingers crossed. We might enter US market sooner than you and we expected. There is kind of like a good opportunity coming from the, let's say like big oil company in US. So we might appear there very soon.
Great. There's a question on the structure of the materials specifically.
Yes, so okay, like the question is very broad. So I mean, that's the geometric structure. That's the thing. Maybe I can tell you what the structure can do. So the structure can dissipate energy. An example, you have, for example, concrete that reflects waves. And for those who played soccer in high school, when the referee whistles inside the sport facility, even though he whistles for a second, you can hear it for like 10 seconds because it reflects from the walls. I mean, this works differently. I mean, this structure controls the acoustic wave, and every time the wave reflects, it takes a bit of energy from the wave. So, I mean, this effect will be much smaller if that was applied on the walls, which is amazing when you think what it does, because usually acoustic materials can only isolate sound when the source of the sound is separated from the person, am I right? I mean, here it does the job, even if you are inside the same, like space, building, where the source of the sound is, just because it reflects the sound whenever it reflects from the walls. The same could be in the tunnels. I mean, you enter the tunnel with your car, you leave the tunnel, there is this huge noise. I mean, if the tunnel was covered with this material, you wouldn't have this.
Okay, thank you. We're out of time, but thank you, Adam.
Thank you so much.
And there are more questions, again, put them in your, directly to Adam or Slack. Quickly moving on to Jonathan from Tendonova.
Everybody doing? See my screen?
Ooh, your sound's a little off.
Hold on a second. Let's see if I can fix that. Is this any better?
Yes.
That's much better, yeah.
Perfect. All right, so good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Shaw, and along with my co-founder, Shauna Curry, who's on the meeting, we're here to tell you about our work at Tendonova, where we're bringing surgical level care to the office. And so what do I mean by that? So the next generation of orthopedic procedures are going to be in the office setting, not in the surgery setting. Orthopedics has had a long continuous trend of moving to smaller and smaller procedures. And with the use of ultrasound guided imaging, just like you would use in an obstetric office, people are bringing procedures that would normally be done in the surgery suite into the office. And the only problem is with this is they don't yet have the specialized tools for these procedures, and usually just end up using something like a standard syringe needle to try to do something a specialized tool should be designed for. And so the most common procedure is used to treat tendinopathy, which is the most common cause of pain around the world. Around 30 million people in the United States alone have chronic tendinopathy, such as tennis elbow or plantar fasciitis or jumper's knee in a given year. And so what this is a lack of inflammation rather than inflammation in the tendon. And so it's an injury that is in a static state of healing. If you look here, you can see it looks like cotton candy, but on ultrasound, it looks like a black hole. There are arteries and nerves where there shouldn't be, as opposed to a normal tendon that's a nice solid structure, more like a rope. And to reverse this process, we have to disrupt this cotton candy-like structure to restart the healing process. It's much like restarting a locked up computer. You turn it off and on and everything is fine going forward. And so how do we do this now? Well, disruption can be caused indirectly through exercise with physical therapy to break down that lesion. It can be due to direct physical debridement, such as open surgery, which used to be common in the past before people started doing ultrasound procedures. And the needle is the way we do it under ultrasound today, largely, where we're just poking holes. So it's still disrupting that scar tissue. Another methodology is using biologics like platelet-rich plasma, injecting it, causing a chemical inflammation to restart that healing process. The problem with these is they're inconsistent, invasive, and expensive. And the big one here is inconsistent. You get variable results with these as far as outcomes go because everybody does them differently. No physical therapist does the same thing, and it's an indirect way to attack the tendon. Surgery is expensive, it's effective, but it's expensive, and the needle is very inconsistent because it's skill dependent. So not every provider is created the same. And then on the last one, biologics, nobody prepares PRP the same way, therefore you get a lot of variable results. And what this results is the 30 million people that have this problem, about half of them get better with conservative treatment, but the 17 million that are left over don't have many options. They're either faced with inexpensive or inconsistent treatments to try to go to the next level to get better, or the ultrasound guided techniques are even further limited because clinician skill plays a big part in how effective they are. And so a lot of clinicians who are trained in diagnostics under ultrasound won't jump into this category because they don't have the specialized tools to do the procedures, even though they would like to. They're forced to refer these out to other clinicians such as surgeons. And so that's where the Ocelot comes in. This is our first product. And it is a precise, cost-effective tool that brings surgical level care to the office. So what do I mean by that? So to have surgical level care in an office, the device has to be simple so that everybody can use it, clean, cost-effective, and deliver consistent results across providers. And that's going to be a big one. And so the way we tackle this is it is a handheld device that can be used in the office. It consists of a disposable unit that's delivered sterile. It covers the reusable unit, so it's cost affordable, typical razor blade. The sterile disposable slides over the drive unit to protect it, so it's easy to clean. And you can see over here, this is what it looks like under ultrasound guidance. This is what the clinician would see when he is performing the procedure. You have a clear cannula. It's injected or placed just like you would do an injection under an 18-gauge needle. And then you have a specialized tool that can have any effect you want, cutting, debridement, separation, and it targets the tissue and performs the disruption of the injured site. And so again, this tackles, it's clean, it's economic, it's targeted, and it is consistent. But we went a step further and added feedback on what we do to the tissue live time. So the clinician can clearly see what effect they're having on the tissue and improve it. We collect that data so we can analyze it, and over time, we'll become even better at treating these injuries under ultrasound guidance, and it also gives the clinician a way to document what they did. Because again, right now, what they do is purely by feel. They go in there and say, yep, that feels about right, and we won't know if it works for 3 months. And so again, that's what drives a lot of the inconsistency. We are the only solution that offers this clinical feature that solves pretty much the biggest problem and biggest hurdle for doing these procedures in an office: the cost and the consistency. So what we've done is we've improved clinical outcomes, or we've developed a device to improve clinical outcomes. We've improved the patient experience because now it's less costly to them and it's in an office as opposed to a surgical suite. We've decreased the cost of care to the system and improved the physician experience because we've opened access to clinicians who couldn't do these procedures before and had to refer them out. So it becomes a source of revenue for them. Currently, we are in development. We are approaching design lock. So a finalized design for our handheld device and app on June 20th. We are a Class 2 device, so we will have to submit to the FDA to get clearance, and that's a fairly straightforward regulatory path for us. It should take around 3 to 6 months, so we expect to be on the market in Q2 of 2021. We have an excellent leadership team and medical advisory team. Lou Malice has been in the industry, our chair of the board, for over 30 years and had multiple exits. Myself and my co-founders started this project that has turned into a company in 2017 out of a master's program at Georgia Tech. And we have recruited 4 of the
1 minute.
Oh, thank you. 4 of the leading clinicians in the world in this topic. Dr. Malanga and Dr. Mautner literally wrote the book on these procedures and lecture internationally. Raul Desai in Portland also lectures internationally on these topics and is one of the leaders in regenerative medicine. So we have a compelling unmet need, a sizable market opportunity, smooth regulatory paths to reimbursement, strong IP with 2 patents, and an experienced team. We have just closed an investment with a large sports organization that will be announced in the coming weeks, so look out for that. And we have $1.6 million left to raise to get to break even. So with that, thank you for your time, and I'll stop there for questions.
Great, thank you, Jonathan. I have a question here about, does your solution expand the market?
It does expand the market. That's a great question. So currently, like I said, everything is sequestered to surgical suites, and surgical suites, not all clinicians have access to that. Plus, those solutions, can be up to $1,500 to $3,000 out of pocket for patients. So you have patients that are not going to opt to do the procedures and clinicians who have no capability of doing the procedures. So it not only opens up the amount of users or clinicians that can perform these procedures, but also opens up a pathway for a lot of patients who don't have another choice.
Can you talk a little bit about sort of sales, your sales strategy?
Absolutely. So if you look here, so like I said, we have some pretty strong KOLs, and there have been similar devices that targeted carpal tunnel that successfully launched like this. So when we get FDA clearance, we will target around 36 to 40 clinicians to develop the soft launch. And then springboarding off of that, we'll start targeting the PM&R, physical medicine and rehabilitation docs. There's around 8,500 of them with a targeted sales force, and around 2,500 sports medicine docs that currently are ultrasound certified and do these procedures. This is a boon to them for the reasons we've already talked about, opening up procedures they can do in the office. And so you can see here just a little bit on the economics, the potential economics for a clinician who treats about 4 patients a week.
Great. There's a question here about your burn rate.
Good question. So it'll take us about $2.5 million to get to market. Like I said, we've already raised $1 million and then another, $1 million and then another 250 through non-dilutive funds. But we should be able to get to cash flow positive by 2022. in $33 million in 2024 of revenue, with about 6 to 8% of market penetration on clinicians.
Okay. Have you sort of established suppliers for this yet in terms of the manufacturing process?
So we are actually in the process of talking to contract manufacturers now. So our R&D team is currently ramping up that. I think if I heard the question right.
That's correct. There's an acronym here that I usually don't ask when I don't know, but maybe you know this one. What do you think is MOIC? So Sumit, if you can translate that, that
Yeah,
would be
I'm
good.
sure.
That's a new one. Multiple on invested capital. There's always a new one.
Multiple on invested capital. So I'm going to assume what it means is return on investment. And so I would expect anybody who invests in the company to, just like any other successful med device startup, to eventually hit, 8 to 10x return.
Okay. And I'm going to ask this one last question because we're running out of time, but how technique sensitive is this?
So the current technologies are extremely technique sensitive. And that's one of the things we're trying to take out of. So one of the early devices on the market that is sequestered to a surgical suite and effective and very expensive is great. But even their trainers say they won't perform them on a lot of patients because they can't feel the feedback, and they have no way of telling when they're done. And so you get cut times between 5 minutes and 20 minutes, even between providers. So we're looking to, with that feedback mechanism, eliminate a lot of the technique hurdles that clinicians are experiencing.
Great. I think we're pretty much out of time. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Appreciate it. To everybody on, again, please make sure you vote. Connect with folks on Slack. I will repost all that information right now if I can multitask. Thank you all for attending. Thank you very much to Wolf Greenfield for supporting this again today and supporting us endlessly for many years. And hopefully this will be an in-person event again next year, but if not, we might just continue it virtually. So thanks to all who attended all 6. If you missed the previous ones, all the recordings are online. And again, please connect with us if you want to make connections with anybody who's presented. And thanks. Have a great afternoon, everybody.